is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. It is June 17th, 2020, and this is your AEW Dynamite review right here on Off the Script. As always, I'm joined by my good buddy Jesse. We're going to go over the show tonight, and AEW is building very nicely to what I think is going to be a very exciting two-week event of Fyter Fest on TNT, July 1st and July 8th. They obviously have some stiff competition from NXT, but AEW is building nicely, and we are going to talk about all of that build tonight on the podcast. Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page tonight, they defended the AEW World Tag Team Championships against the Natural Nightmares in Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall, minus the beautiful quote-unquote bunny who wasn't at ringside, which we will talk about in a little bit. Did not like that. Kind of gave away the ending of the match, if you ask me. But I'm not sure how statistical and analytical you guys are. Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall, 5-0 in 2020. Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page, 7-0 in 2020. Thus, the Tag Team Championship match tonight. The best friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent, they went up against the Les Sex Gods, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara of the Inner Circle. They won a number one contenders match at Double or Nothing to earn a title shot at Fyter Fest. And because Orange Cassidy was squeezed to a pulp by Chris Jericho, they obviously sought revenge, did the best friends. They even opted to put their number one contendership on the line, which I don't agree with, against Jericho and Sammy G. And that's where we got to tonight. And we'll talk about that as well. The winner of this match obviously would go on to fight Kenny Omega and Adam Page at Fyter Fest for the Tag Team Championships. Cody Rhodes making his third TNT Championship title defense tonight. No opponent was named before the show started, but there were big rumors on who that might be, and the rumors ended up being correct. So we'll go over who that was and what I thought and what Jesse thought of the newcomer to AEW. Young Bucks were in action. MJF versus Billy Gunn also slated for tonight. And like I said, we will go over all of Fyter Fest right here on the podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you missed anything that I've uploaded this week already, Monday Night Raw was a great show. Go and check that out. Talk about the Randy Orton and Christian situation. Talk about how Bobby Lashley should not be getting another World Championship match against Drew McIntyre. And what WWE did in the first episode of the Bruce era. And this Friday, we'll talk about the CV19 era of WWE, because apparently it is one big clusterfuck, says WrestleVotes. Maybe I should start shipping WWE and the Beaver some of these masks so that their talent could wear them at the PC. Speaking of which, the masks, I got off-the-script masks, guys. Go get yours today. Stay safe, look good, and support the show while doing it. mouthmasker.com/OTS. Go and get yours. And listen, man, I'm against the masks, but it's going to be a part of our everyday lifestyle. I want it to look good. I want it to rep myself and the podcast. If I have to go to Dunkin' Donuts to get myself a coffee every morning. So I went ahead and got some masks made. So if you want to go and support the podcast, this is going to be a great way to do that as we move on into the future and get ready and get accustomed to the new normal. So make sure you guys go and do that. And if you missed, like I said, anything that I've uploaded on the channel, that Monday Night Raw review is down in the description below. If you want to support the podcast via Patreon, patreon.com/JDfromNY206. And the podcast today is brought to you by my good friends over at Audible, audibletrial.com/offthescript. Jesse, what did you think of Dynamite tonight, man? Got some good direction going into Fyter Fest in a couple of weeks. What'd you think?
I thought it was a good setup show. I'm trying to think of my favorite setup guy in baseball. I don't remember right now.
Your favorite setup guy?
Yeah. Who's my favorite setup guy?
Jesus Christ, man. Don't get me started on setup guys. Me being a Braves fan, I don't know how many people listening to me are Braves fans or a fan of what the Braves did with their bullpen man, they had Johnny Venters and they had Craig Kimbrell and Eric O'Flaherty. It was the three-headed dragon down in the NL East, man. Craig Kimbrell, before he went to Boston, was just a fucking savage. He was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't even know who my favorite setup man was. So it's crazy. It's a good question.
I don't know. Yeah, but nonetheless, the show was like a good setup. It was a good setup show for, I don't want to say a go home show, but a good setup show for a go home show for Fyter Fest. I thought it did a lot. It was pretty good.
Yeah, we'll go over that. I'm excited for what's happening. I'm not sure how everybody is thinking of AEW's plans still as we move on into the entire situation with Moxley and Brian Cage and the Tag Team Championships, Cody Rhodes and Jake Hager. It seems like they are definitely headed in a direction. FTR and the Young Bucks obviously are being built up, not for Fyter Fest, but for probably All Out. But I like that they are advancing things slowly but surely. And like I said, we'll get into all that stuff and what they did tonight on the show. They absolutely started off with a bang tonight. The AEW World Tag Team Championship match, Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page. They defended their titles against Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall with Brandy in the opening match. Allie was not at ringside. Now, Jesse, I thought, before we get into the breakdown of what happened here, I thought this was a very good match to open the show. Some really good wrestling. I love the back and forth between Dustin and Kenny Omega. It's amazing to see Dustin, even at his age, still doing the things that he can. It's almost as if he found the fountain of youth joining AEW. It was just nice to see him mix it up with Adam Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, who are legitimately, the head and shoulders of AEW, two of the best wrestlers in the world, in my honest opinion. But the one thing I didn't like about this, and this seems to be a common thing in AEW, I feel like in every situation they do too much when it really isn't necessary. And what I mean by that is this was a really good tag team match, but man, at the end of it, the breakdown just became too chaotic. I didn't even know who was legal towards the end of this thing. Maybe the last 5 minutes, the 5-minute stretch of this match. Did not even know who was legal. I'm seeing flips. I'm seeing dives. I'm seeing people go to the outside. I'm like, holy shit. I wish they would slow it down just a little bit. And then, I mentioned it just a little bit ago, Allie comes out when she wasn't even a part of the match in the beginning, comes out as predicted to stand on the stage. It's like, Jesus Christ, you kind of gave away the ending of the match with her coming out there, or actually you gave away the match without even her being there in the beginning of the match. I didn't like that at all. So what'd you think of this thing, how it broke down? Obviously the right guys won here, but what did you think of the overall picture of this match?
I was kind of hoping Ellie not coming out was them kind of ditching her with QT and everything. You were hoping to get rid of that part and put her back with Butcher and Blade.
Yeah, she definitely needs to be back with the Butcher and the Blade. I love the comment by Jim Ross tonight. I think he said they went from Butcher and the Blade to the bakery, almost.
They went to the baker. That's what I said. That's actually, he was right. These guys went from the meat department to the bakery department. Where are they going to be cashiers next
man,
week?
They're fucking frosting cupcakes in AEW now.
God.
Anyway, I mean, this was some fun stuff. Obviously, like I said, the right guys won here. I mean, who else would you expect in this situation? I mean, it's not going to be fucking QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes with the tag team championships. But Omega and Dustin began this thing. They did a spot where Dustin accidentally took a headbutt in the corner. And they really laid the whole story of the match around that. Is Dustin concussed? Is he going to be able to have his head in the game here? Obviously, it was not planned, and they sold it off as such. And I really like that little touch there by the commentary team. So Omega hit a springboard double sledge to QT. Page hit a sliding lariat on QT for a near fall. Omega hit his signature Kotaro Crusher. And then the story was QT taking a beating, obviously, until Dustin came in and saved the day. QT made the hot tag to Dustin. The Natural Nightmares obviously began making their babyface comeback. Dustin was great here, delivering his signature Destroyer, or what has become a signature of his moveset, Destroyer. Flip dive off the apron, plus a power slam. QT hit his QT special, which Excalibur accurately referred to as ugly, because that's exactly what it was. Allie came to the stage at the end of the match to try and fire QT up. I don't know why this wasn't done in the beginning. She may be afraid of Brandy Rhodes, but then I find that Brandy and Allie teamed up on AEW Dark, so that obviously isn't the case. QT hit his Diamond Cutter, or Diamond Dallas's Page. Diamond Cutter. QT then got cut off. Page hit him with a rolling elbow for a 2. Omega hit a V-trigger. And then the finish came with the last call on QT. Omega made the cover, and they retained the championships. Now, what did you think of Allie's appearance? Did they give away the end of the match, or the match in general, with her not being there in the beginning? And her appearance led to nothing. It really didn't serve a purpose at all at the end of this match.
It didn't make any sense as far as why didn't she just come out, and she did come out and didn't really do anything. It wasn't. I don't think her absence was like a distraction. I mean, like to me, I was just hoping that they kind of dropped it, to be honest. But then when she came out and did just to come out and cheer him on, that made no sense. None.
So Omega and Page, I guess, Omega and Page, they retained the titles here. And, I honestly thought that they were going to go in a different direction. I thought there were going to be a change of plans in AEW. Clearly that was not the case today. But Omega and Page win. Do they still tease the breakup going into Fyter Fest? Because I don't know if you noticed, maybe I'm over-examining things, and might be just typical Page at this point. He was kind of hesitant to make that tag to Omega towards the end of the match before they finished QT off. Did you see that, or am I looking too much into it?
No, I think you're looking too far. So I think they kind of got away from the breakup angle for now, which I think is a good job. I think what they're gonna do is let the work that they did plant the seeds. Now they'll get away from it, and then when the turn happens, the seeds were planted. We know where it's stemming from, and right now we're supposed to just kind of forget about the tension, and so it comes back into a surprise. If they would have did the turn when they were showing all of the tension, it would have been completely telegraphed. But now if they do a turn like at Fyter Fest or something like that, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Forgot that they had issues and everything else. So there's our turn. So I didn't see that, and I'm hoping that didn't happen as far as like them teasing yet another, part of a breakup. I hope they kind of got away from it so they can kind of hit us with it all at once.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I might be looking too much into it, but it just might be typical Page at this point. Him just being, intense and obviously wanting to win the match. He did look like he didn't want to tag Omega in, but he hesitated and tagged him in anyway. So it might be something that I'm just looking too much into. But they did get the victory. Right Guys won here, and they go on to Fyter Fest as AEW Tag Team Champions. Moving on here, we got a really nice Anna Jay promo package. She said she signed to AEW and is still figuring out the entertainment side of wrestling. She almost looks like a ringleader for a circus act. Now, I'm looking at Anna Jay, and I'm thinking to myself, man, we got two guys in House of Glory with their gimmick. We got Jay Lion, my boy Jay Lion, and Midas Black, the main event in House of Glory. I'm looking at Anna Jay and the way she's being presented on AEW television. I'm thinking to myself, man, she would be perfect with these guys because they come off as, the ringleader and the lion of the circus, the main event in House of Glory. I'm like, she would go perfect with them. And they were blowing her up before everything got blown out of proportion with the CV on the independent circuit. So she looked great here. I thought it was very nicely done, and that's exactly what they need to do to continue building new talent. Because if you're just going to throw her out there, I don't know who the fuck she is. So I'm glad that they threw her out there, gave her some time with this video package. What'd you think of the video package? Nicely done, sweet and to the point, right?
Yeah, I thought they were showing us, a new budding star.
She certainly has the look for one, I'll tell you that.
Well, she has a look. She has.
I'm sure she does.
I thought it was kind of, I don't know. I thought the gimmick was kind of, she's nice.
Yeah, Cole Cabana thought so, too, the way he was looking at her.
Yeah, it just seems kind of cartoonish, though. What is she, like a superhero? I don't know. It was
almost like a magician, like a magician act. She's got the fucking baton or wand or whatever she's got. She got the little bow tie. It looks good. She looks good. So at least she has some direction on the show. Speaking of direction, her opponent, I don't know from what direction or dimension she came from, but holy shit, Abadon versus Anna Jay. Apparently, this was the talk of the town on social media. I was not very prevalent on social media tonight. Kind of took the night off. Really didn't want to deal with the bullshit on social media. But Abadon comes out, and my goodness, man, it looked like something out of Resident Evil. Seriously. Horror movie gimmick. Reminded me a little bit of what Su Yung does in Impact Wrestling. She squashed Anna Jay, pinned her with a Hurricane Rana, and that was it, pretty much. It was legitimately a squash. Now, I did do some research on who Abadon was, and I wasn't going to let this one go because I have no idea who the hell she is, how AEW found her. But apparently, with Abadon, she's been featured on Dark, which you would know because I don't watch Dark, so I'm sure you've seen Abadon before tonight's show. And Tony Khan did something that we have to give him credit for. He advertised Anna Jay in advance, and they didn't announce her opponent. And out comes Abadon. Abadon was discovered while AEW was in Denver. She was from the RMP Wrestling Company. They call her the Living Dead Girl, which is something that they obviously, I wasn't sure if they were going to use that in AEW. I don't know if they were going to tweak it or not, but apparently they are going full on with Abadon from where they found her. She's also a two-time Rocky Mountain Pro Lockets champion. And Abadon likely arrived at that name because it is close to the Hebrew word Abadon, A-B-A-D-D-O-N. And her name is spelled A-B-A-D-O-N. So a little play on words there, which is essentially a bottomless pit of destruction. That seems to fit her character and her persona, obviously, with what we've seen tonight. She wrestled Hikaru Shida during an AEW Dark segment. When they rolled through Denver, she obviously gained the company's attention. If they decided to bring her back into Daly's place tonight against Anna Jay. So AEW needs to build their women's division, and we'll talk about why in a second. But, man, oh, man, being that this is your, I guess, second or third time seeing Abadon, no matter how many times she was on Dark, what do you think of the gimmick? Is it going to work? Is it something that fits AEW's criteria? Talk to me.
I didn't like it on Dark when I saw her debut, and nothing's changed from her TV debut. I just don't like it now. I don't know. It just look. It's just one of those things. You just can't put a wild gimmick on a wrestler and then just think people will love this. And that's just kind of what it feels like. It's like she just took a bunch of random stuff, made herself look really weird, and then went out there. But she didn't portray any of the characteristics in which she looks, if that makes any sense. She wasn't even that phenomenal in the ring. I guess I kind of get what she was trying to do, but I think this was a miss. I'm not a fan of this gimmick at all. I don't think it's gonna get over.
I do think that they need characters. I think a good character development is essential for any pro wrestling company. I do feel that WWE needs to start developing characters a little bit more, but I do think that this one may be really, really reaching for character. I don't know if it's going to be a long-lasting thing. I would obviously have to see more. Maybe AEW tweaks the gimmick a little bit like I mentioned before. I don't really know. I legitimately thought they were presenting Anna Jay in a way that Anna Jay was going to be someone that they were going to start pushing a little bit more on TV because she has the right look for sure to be on TV. She's not terrible in the ring. I don't remember who she was in the ring with when we seen her when they were operating out of the Nightmare Factory. It might have been Shida. I'm not really sure who it was, but she didn't look bad. And I thought they were going to push her and go all in on her, but then we got Abadon winning tonight, and that's that with the Hurricane Rana. But the women's division, Jesse, is down a woman, or an alien, if you want to say that. We got Chris Statlander injured, and she's going to be out for the rest of 2020. She actually tweeted out and admitted that she has an ACL tear, and she's going to be out. She dove on Kip Sabian last week on Dynamite. She says this on social media, and I quote, "Since the news is out, I told you I'd dive on Kip again, And damn it, I did, but in doing so, I ended up with a high-grade tear in my ACL, and yes, I need surgery. I will be out of the ring for a while. I'll do my best to still show up on your TVs as much as I can with Britt Baker, your role model, of course. And now Chris Statlander out with injuries. The AEW Women's Division took a major hit with this one, if not already. Where do they go from here? What do they do? What could they do? And does AEW need to tone down the fucking dives, like Randy Orton mentioned? Or not specifically AEW, but in general. They need to slow things down a little bit and work a more methodical pace, I would say. You can still do the cool shit, but man, do it when it is necessary, not all the time.
That's kind of subjective. Let me ask you this. How did Ember Moon get hurt? Was she diving?
She was chasing around the 7-Eleven extra mustard on that 5-day-old hot dog, side of Doritos with a Mountain Dew championship.
Right. But if she was doing some kind of unnecessary dive or flipping, get hurt, I mean, it wouldn't make any different or better or worse. Or I mean, the point is, injuries happen. Now I get that, you know, they can happen more often by the high spots, but also the point is, you didn't have to be doing the high spot to get an injury. So I don't want to say, well, work safer so no one gets hurt. Work safer. I understand that, absolutely. Make sure every move you do has an impact, and I agree with Randy to an extent. As far as you do a high impact move, let it breathe. But I don't agree with only work safe style. You work the style that you feel comfortable working. Now, I'm not saying go out and kill yourself. If you don't feel comfortable working a match where you can work a slow style and you do got to pick up the high spots, pick and choose your high spots, and don't make them the meat of the sandwich. Make them the end. You know what I'm saying? Make it to the point where now you do your next match, and the 4 high spots you did in this match, you can stretch those high spots out to 4 different matches and make it look like you creating 4 different great matches rather than one match with 4 big spots in it. Space them out, but don't not do what you do best. Just be safer doing it.
Yeah, listening to you talk about that, it made me think of Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was very reckless. Even when he first came back after the 4 years he was out, he was diving, he was still headbutting, he was jumping through the ropes and this and that. Mm-hmm. And then I'm thinking back to the AJ Styles match on Friday for the IC title where he lost and AJ won the title. I don't even think I could remember a time where he was in that mode until when he was really trying to come back and secure that championship. Like, they wrestled a clinic for 40 minutes, and he did it when it mattered. You know, he didn't go out there recklessly and, you know, just do it for the sake of doing it because he's Daniel Bryan and he can do it, or AJ Styles could do the same thing even at his age better than anybody. They didn't do it because they can do it. They did it when it needed to be done, and they spaced it out. They let it breathe. They let everything that they do in that match just live on its own and create a moment in itself. That's what I don't think. That's what I don't think these young talents, especially in NXT and AEW, they don't understand that. Now, I don't know anything. I'm not a fucking pro wrestler. You're not a pro wrestler. But when The Undertaker says it and when Randy Orton says it, I think it should really have some fucking weight to it. It should mean something, you know?
But let me throw this at you, though. When Randy Orton and when The Undertaker and everybody else get into a match on TV or into a pay-per-view or anything like that, and they want to space their spots out and they want to hold their stuff off to the next match and save it for the feud, that's awesome. But how do you tell that to somebody who is getting a spot on TV and literally who knows when they'll get another spot on TV? You're going to tell them to not go balls to the wall and not try to get themselves over. TV time is so scarce and rare in WWE. How can you tell a new young talent with something to offer as far as being extra and as far as being special, to tell them to not do it and then just hold off and wait? And then in the meantime, you don't see that person on TV for 6 more months.
That's a good point.
So they get the feel to go out there and, hey, this is my shot. You know, I can't go out here and take it slow. Nobody's going to remember me from taking it slow. They're going to remember me from making these big spots and these big dives. So I get what Orton's saying, but he's speaking from a point
I guess that's
privilege.
why we see when Ali's in the ring. He hasn't been in the ring since February. He's always fucking killing himself.
Yeah.
For that very reason.
Make the most of your time.
Speaking of somebody who's making the most of their time, man, MJF. Holy shit. MJF today with Wardlow against Billy Gunn. I refuse to call him just Billy. Who the fuck is Billy? I could have a fucking neighbor down the street named Billy. Who the fuck is Billy? Billy Gunn with his sons Austin and Colton. One-on-one match. This came off of last week's, I guess, bantering back and forth when Gunn was being interviewed by Shivani, and then MJF kind of interjected himself into the interview. So they played this off with a match with an angle from last week. Billy hit a big boot. First of all, Billy Gunn looks great for his age. I don't think he needs me or anybody else to tell him that. He looks fucking phenomenal for his age. Billy hit a big boot and a thumb to the eye. MJF teased walking out, but Billy followed him up with, I guess, chasing him down the tunnel, carried him back to the ring. MJF wanted nothing to do with this, so Billy grabbed him, brought him right back to the ring. Billy went for a famouser, but MJF avoided it and hit a chop block on Billy Gunn, took control of the match after that. So MJF has that veteran mentality at 24 years old. He knows Billy Gunn needs his legs for his famouser, and he took out the one thing that will not have him lose the match here, and that is taking out the leg. MJF and Wardlow posted Billy and worked over his legs during the break. Billy made a comeback after the break. MJF jawed with the referee, yelling at Aubrey Edwards here. MJF went for a famouser of his own, but Gunn blocked it and hit his famouser. Wardlow jumped on the apron and took the referee's attention away from the match. Wardlow passed MJF his diamond ring in the process. Wardlow then went after Austin and Colton on the floor. I believe he clotheslined one of them. Gunn went after Wardlow and sent him into the barricade. In revenge, Gunn climbed back into the ring, and then MJF, obviously, with the right hand, right to the head, with the ring on his hand, and that was it. MJF immediately covered for the pin. After the match, Wardlow, MJF, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, and everybody at ringside had a huge pull-apart brawl, which we'll talk about in a second. But, Jesse, the story of the match here was MJF, the 24-year-old, against the obvious 20-plus year veteran here in Billy Gunn. Now, looking back at this, MJF is undefeated. We all know MJF is gearing himself up for an AEW Championship opportunity sooner rather than later. You don't want to see him losing, obviously. You don't want to see him winning by nefarious means like this, because it does get old, and it's very stereotypical of someone like MJF. I think MJF he can do that from time to time because it does fit his character, but I want to see him win just slightly more legitimately because he's just so good, and you got to build him up as a credible contender. You know, even looking at his record, you got to build him up a little bit more than just a weaselly chicken shit heel who's going to cheat to win every match. But I love the commentary here, selling the fact that, you know, MJF may be undefeated, but this just isn't just a regular opponent here in Billy Gunn. This is a fucking Hall of Famer. You know, Billy Gunn is a Hall of Famer. He's still legit. He still looks great. Still has what it takes to win a fucking wrestling match. They played it off as, you know, MJF could seriously lose his first match at AEW here. So just by what commentary did tonight, they actually made MJF and his nefarious means to win this match look not that bad. In fact, it was almost necessary for him to keep the match in his hands. What do you think?
I think it makes complete sense. You bring Billy Gunn out with his two sons. All right. You got Wardlow out there doing Wardlow things as he should, but there's still three of them. So, and then you want to build up the fact that Billy Gunn is a Hall of Famer. You know, he can still go. I mean, he has more experience than MJF has on the planet. And there's no reason why Billy Gunn can't win this match. So to point out that it was actually a match that MJF couldn't win on his own. So he had to ad-lib. He had to make it happen. He had to make it work. He had to figure something out because he wasn't going to lose, and he couldn't figure out how to beat this guy. So that's when you pull off a heel win. This is a good spot to pull off a heel win. So for anybody out there saying, "Oh, see, you complain when WWE does this," it's not the same thing. WWE will have a heel, and that's the only way that they'll win. They'll have a heel in the ring with a jobber, and he has to cheat to beat the jobber. I mean, it's not the point, you know. This played into the story. This helped build MJF's character. It was a reason behind everything, and the reason why he did it. The story was being told. I thought this was awesome.
Now, what do you think of this big brawl that happened after the match with Luchasaurus and obviously Wardlow being the two focal points in this big pull-apart brawl, where they actually announced for next week's show Luchasaurus and Wardlow in a one-on-one match, which has been kind of building and brewing for a couple of weeks now, more than a couple of weeks, a few weeks actually, but they're doing it in a lumberjack match style. I fucking hate lumberjack matches. I think they are terrible. I think they're very lame and cheesy and very formulaic. It's the same shit every time. I just can't stand the makeup of a lumberjack match. Is this something you want to see right now? And I know you're in agreement with me. Why isn't the Jurassic Express of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus more of a player in the tag team division? And why are they just kind of floating in a sea of nothing right now in AEW?
I have no idea. It's like they tried putting Jungle Boy up there as a credible mid-carder. Awesome. They have Luchasaurus. He had a few weeks of bits on BTE and here and there, and a couple of spot matches here and there on TV. But yeah, what are they doing with these guys? What more do you want? These guys are over. They're completely over. And you have a thriving tag division.
Is it just something where the tag team division is just so busy right now and they're just waiting for their opportunity? So why not pair them up with an MJF and a Wardlow and just have them bide their time, and then we'll move them on and put them in that best friends like spot where they're kind of there but not yet competing for the tag team championships?
No.
No.
No, man. This is one of those strike while the iron's hot. Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy are not some household name seasoned veterans where you can just flick a light switch and turn their heat on or off. They were hot, so you better start cooking with the heat that they have. Now they're fizzled off.
No, now they were hot. Now Jungle Boy's hot and Luchasaurus is fucking ice cold. I think everybody. I think you two weren't you one of the ones along with me saying that they should be the tag team champions, inaugural tag team champions in AEW? And then Luchasaurus got hurt.
They should. Yeah, well, I say they should have been. I mean, they were definitely viable options to be. He got hurt. We thought it was a long-term deal. It was not. He came back way quicker than we thought. But there was nothing more for them. They stopped pushing them and everything else. Now you're going to put Luchasaurus in the ring of Wardlow. Nobody expects Wardlow to lose this match.
No, because Wardlow is directly responsible for MJF. If Wardlow is losing, then MJF doesn't want to be associated with a loser, especially if you're putting him in the World Championship situation come all out. They got to both look like winners.
Yeah. So, I mean, one way or in the best case scenario, Luchasaurus is going to be looking at a wipe here and a DQ and a fuck finish. But there's no way this is going to end in a positive way for Luchasaurus, which now leads me back to what is going on with Jurassic Express here. I mean, why? I mean, I don't know what the deal is. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, Marco Stunt has been getting more of a play than Luchasaurus has lately.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very weird situation. I'm a man of many words most times, but I don't have anything on this one. I don't know. You know, I hope it's just Tony Khan realizing that they are great and he wants to push them, but I just don't have anything for you right now because the Bucks got FTR, Omega, and Page have the tag team championships, and they're feuding with the Inner Circle, and they're feuding with, best friends, and they got this and they got that. I don't really know where they fit. So I'm hoping it's just a situation of your time will come, just be patient. I don't know. So we'll see what happens.
Hoping that time comes, they have some kind of momentum behind them.
Yeah, me too. Because whatever we felt, not even 6, 7, 8 months ago, not there anymore. So we'll give it some time. Hopefully things get right back to being very Jurassic Express-like we first seen them on the scene in AEW. Alex Marvez interviewing Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho. Jericho told Marvez that he had a fat head. Good. So when Jericho gets in on Marvez, I find that to be very enjoyable. Jericho and Orange Cassidy obviously is the big deal here. So Jericho said Orange Cassidy wants to be a funny guy, But there wasn't anything funny about what they did to him last week. Guevara said that they beat the pulp out of Orange Cassidy. He laughed. Jericho said they beat him to a pulp, then vowed to become the top contenders for the AEW Tag Team titles. Jericho said he and Guevara are blood brothers, and blood is thicker than water, or in this case, orange juice. So there you go. Jericho, always marvelous with the way he words things. Tony Schiavone interviewed the role model, your role model, who apparently you coined the new Charlotte Flair. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I called it first. I'm telling you right now, they're going to make her the new Charlotte Flair of AEW. Why? One question. Why is she on television?
Because she's a role model.
There you go. I win that
one. She's a role model. She's better looking than Charlotte Flair, in my honest opinion. So
it's not a beauty pageant.
Hey, listen, baby. Come on.
Saying.
Schiavone interviewed Baker. He announced that Penelope Ford will get a title match at Fyter Fest. Baker didn't like Schiavone talking about other women instead of focusing on her. She said Schiavone waddled himself over there for nothing because she was cutting off the interview. Big Swole was the driver of her golf cart and then had a very sinister look on her face, and she sped off with Baker, who was crying out in panic because she didn't know where Big Swole was driving her to. So that was that, and the feud between Big Swole and the injured Britt Baker continues for yet another week. So there you go, bro. The reason why she's on TV is because she's continuing to build that match back with Big Swole. Big Swole needs a role model in her life. That's why she's on TV.
Man, look, this seriously reminds me of when Alexa Bliss. Can I say that on your show? Do you get
who?
You know, yeah. I mean, is that okay to say?
I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. This is an AEW program. The children are watching.
But it reminds me of when Alexa Bliss was hurt. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. And she was out for a good at least 3 or 4 months. But she was on TV every week.
Oh, you mean with a moment of piss segments on Raw and SmackDown?
Yeah. Why? I mean, absence make the heart grow.
Because we needed to know that Alexa Bliss was a fan of caffeine. That was so important for people to know.
Coffee segments, all of that stuff, but that's what's happening here. What are we dealing with right now on every main roster show? All Flair, all the time. You know, so here we are on AEW. And look, if we gotta see Britt on TV every week because she's competing, then whatever. It is what it is. But why is she here taking up TV time from a division that needs the help? We'd rather see more women wrestling. Not Britt Baker talking about how her wheelchair rolls and what I mean. Look, I get the flow of banter that she has with Schiavone and everything else. That's cool. But between BTE and Dark and promos, why do we need to have these segments live on the 2-hour show? They don't have very much time. They can put these segments out with her and Schiavone on the internet or anything, all the other outlets they have for things like this. We don't need this on TV right now.
Hey, listen, I'm not saying that you're wrong. Anybody listening, it is very hard to sit there and say, well, Jesse's wrong on that. I agree with you. But clearly, she is a favorite of management, and she will be getting a monstrous push when she comes back from injury. That's all that means.
Clearly.
Cody and the TNT Championship has become a staple on Dynamite every single week. He has a championship match tonight against a mystery opponent. So he's out in the ring with Arn Anderson. Cody said last week he was on the receiving end of a beatdown from Jake Hager. He said there was no Hangman, no Matt Jackson, no Nick Jackson, no Dustin. Not even his own brother was out there to help. He wondered if he was even in the Elite anymore. He wondered if they were even a family anymore. So I wonder what that, I don't know. Everything AEW does, I want to say that they do for a reason. Why was that in the promo? Any words on that, Jesse? Am I looking, again, too much into it? The fact that Cody mentioned those words in his promo tonight.
Nope, I don't think you're looking too far into this at all. You hit it on the head. They do everything for a reason. So that little line was thrown in there for a particular reason.
Could Cody be turning heel?
I don't know. It's interesting.
Could Cody be, I guess, forming a new group in AEW?
Yeah, although I don't know. I don't know if I see Cody turning heel.
Not yet, anyway. I
If,
think we talked about this last week. Not yet, anyway, right? It's too soon.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know about anytime in the near future. If Cody's gonna run a new heel stable, what is he gonna have? The number 2 heel stable in the company? Because
I think by that time, I get where you're going with that. I think by that time, the Inner Circle is going to be done.
or maybe if the Inner Circle's gonna fade out, by all means, Nightmare Family could be the top heel company, top heel crew in the company. But right now, that's the Inner Circle's job, and Cody can't be the head of a new heel crew and the second best heel crew in the company. That won't work, and it'll take away from Inner Circle's heat too, so it can't happen.
So I found that to be very interesting that he said that. It made me actually become wide-eyed. I'm like, oh, okay. So I see where you're going with that. Yeah. He wondered if they were even a family anymore. It takes you, or it kind of makes you wonder, he said. He then handed the mic to Arn Anderson, the head coach of the Nightmare Family. Arn took the mic and said, you have to listen sometimes to your voice of reason, the one in your head. He said he knows he thinks he can beat Hager and believes it too. He said timing is everything, though. And timing right now just isn't right. He said they're going to move past it and focus on tonight. So Arn picked a strong opponent against whom he can hone his skills against. So Ricky Starks of the NWA, or I'm assuming former NWA superstar Ricky Starks, appeared on the big screen and said he is the hottest free agent in the industry and a former NWA World Television Champion. He said he saw the TNT title open challenge, and this was his opportunity to get his foot in the door. He talked about his work ethic and grit. He said Cody has it too, so his boots are tied tight, and he's ready for the challenge. So Ricky Starks comes on into AEW right on night 1, gets a shot against Cody for the TNT Championship. Never. Now, I knew who Ricky Starks was. I've heard of the name before. Obviously, I knew he was working with NWA. Obviously, I knew he was their TV champion, but I did not watch a single solitary episode of NWA Power. Did not watch one single solitary Ricky Starks match. But I was very pleased with what I seen in the very little bit of what he did tonight. What did you think of him, Jesse? And do you think he is a good fit from what you've seen tonight for AEW?
I don't know how to. I mean, because I don't want to say that he was awesome. He was great because.
Well, he clearly knows how to wrestle.
And that's what I'm trying to get at. He knows his way around the ring. I mean, I didn't see anything. Okay, to answer it, yeah, I love what I saw. I don't think he was ready for the spot he was put in. Does that make any sense?
Well, if he's not ready for the spot, I get what you're saying. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but if he's not ready for the spot, obviously we see where we're going here with this TNT Championship open challenge every week. If Ricky Starks is not, set for the challenge, then the next guy next week that we don't know of is not set for the challenge. And a Zack Ryder, who I'm assuming we're going to see, is not set for the challenge. Everybody that comes on in that's a mystery opponent's not going to be set for the challenge. So I asked you when we were watching the show together via text, does this end up just being a Cody thing to get the championship over? Or does the next one who beats Cody for the championship go on the same road that Cody Rhodes is on right now? This is what I don't get. I'm enjoying it for what it is. I hope Cody doesn't burn out if he's going to be wrestling week in and week out. But is this going to be a Cody Rhodes thing? And who's going to be the one to eventually beat him? I know you mentioned that this could be a paving of the way for some other friends of Matt and Nick Jackson to come on in and maybe start something here. Yes. Is that where we're headed with this? Is that the end game?
And that's why I was kind of going with it. I think that the spot that he had tonight, he just wasn't ready for it himself, but I think it does kind of plant the seed for what they may be trying to do with a spot like that, when they can bring in an outsider, and we might see a Flip Gordon show up to challenge Cody for that title. What about that? Or even bigger, our guy Marty pops up. You know who I thought about it might have been? That would have been a better spot for this? Nick Aldis.
I could see that actually happening. I could see that actually happen, but they're going to save that for they're going to save that A for a live show, live setting, and B, they're going to save that for a mega pay-per-view. So I could that and Skrull, I could see absolutely happening, which obviously would open up the doorways for a partnership between NWA and AEW, and then Ring of Honor and AEW, which I honestly think we're heading that way because nobody's going to end up being the same. I think everybody is going to fucking majorly struggle right out of the gate. AEW and WWE have been absolutely fortunate and lucky to be the only two wrestling promotions in the world that have been able to continuously put on consistent television. Even New Japan closed its doors for over 100 days, and they just came back this week. And I honestly think that with AEW still doing what they're doing, and for them to get the head jump on NXT again and really kind of pull away from them in the Wednesday Night Wars, I honestly think there's going to be a partnership of all these other wrestling promotions, and they're all going to join forces, and AEW is going to help out everybody to kind of get their feet back into the pool, if you know what I mean. You know, and I do believe that what you said is really going to happen. I really do.
Yeah. But to answer your question, do I think that they'll do this every week with the title? No. It's just not a gimmick you can run with a heel champion, first off. You have to force them to do it every week, which could get kind of tiresome. It's usually a big babyface thing to want to challenge all comers and everything else. But what I would like to see when Cody does eventually drop that title to the next heel and they go on to do whatever they do with that title, what's to stop Cody from continuing to invite talent from another promotion over to share a match with him on AEW television? It doesn't have to be for a title. As a matter of fact, if it's not for a title, it's way less predictable.
There's nothing stopping him. He's the boss.
If Nick Aldis was to come challenge Cody right now for that title, I'm going to sit here and say Aldis is going to lose. You know, but if they came over for a non-title match, no title on the line, and Cody won their first match in that awesome match they had, why wouldn't Aldis win this one? Now it's a lot less predictable.
You know what I'm thinking, being that you're mentioning Aldis? You want to bring somebody back and have them fucking get the rocket pack right to the top and really kind of make up for lost time. What if Pac is the one to come on in and challenge Cody and end up beating Cody for the championship, and Pac is your new TNT champion? Wouldn't that be a great way to have him come back in and say, hey guys, did you miss me?
There you go. Take that title. That title on the Death Triangle will do a lot more for what Cody's doing for it right now. Right now, Cody's trying to make a name for the title, which is what you have to do. You have to establish the title. But when he goes to drop it, Pac is a great candidate. Take it to his faction, and they can run with it over there. Leave Cody to do these challenges, same as this. Hey, I brought in a free agent, and this match is for a contract. How about that? You want a contract? Face me in a match. We'll see how you do. Something like that. But that'd be a great idea.
And Ricky Starks proved himself to definitely deserve a contract. They gave him a lot of offense, so just by that alone, I think they are gonna kind of bring him in to AEW. But Cody gave Starks a ton in this match. Ended up being a very good TV match. They actually cut to Hager backstage, and Jesse, I know you noticed this. I hope you did. Hager was watching TV like a normal human being and not at a 180-degree angle, sideways. He was looking towards the fucking TV.
Exposing the business.
I know. He's doing the non-Vince McMahon thing. Unreal.
You know what else I like about the idea of Cody dropping the title to a heel, letting that heel go do their program with the title, and Cody holding like an invitational, a Nightmare Invitational match randomly, maybe at a pay-per-view randomly here and there to an outside talent and things like that. It goes back to like the MJF match a little bit ago. The match has something on the line. What is it? MJF is undefeated. And what happens if he loses this match now? Everybody knows that he's the chosen one. What if he loses? That undefeated streak is on the line. That TV title can go do what it does, and then Cody can have a high-profile match, maybe once a quarter at a pay-per-view, like I said, a match for a contract or things like that. And there's something on the line without the title. So now we have a match for something on the line. MJF streak on the line. TV title on the line. Each match is now becoming more important without having to have a title online.
Seems like Cody could actually go in a bunch of different directions with this championship. He seems like the most flexible pro wrestler that they have on the roster right now. And will this TNT Championship reign kind of be their in to get him another AEW Championship match, which right now he can't get because of said rules that were laid out, or I guess late last year, right? So is this going to lead him to a World Championship match, and that's going to be their in to get him another World Championship match? Is he going to hold the title long enough to even get there?
It could be. It could be, or he might stick to it and keep himself out of it and stick around the TV title picture. It could go either way. I could see everybody, kind of snubbing their nose at it if he had a match that said, he could never compete again, lost, and then a year or two later he's doing it again. I mean, it's so pro wrestling, but I guess he has a chance to be different here and hold himself to it. But why not hold yourself to it? Think about it. How much longer is Cody going to be in the ring? His in-ring career is already winding down.
You think so?
He's got chronic knee problems, and not only that, he doesn't have to wrestle as much anymore. He doesn't have to. He's got long-term nagging injuries. He doesn't have to wrestle. I know he enjoys it. I know we enjoy seeing it. I don't wish him off TV, but he's got to be winding his career down, especially now that he has a job in the business where he's more needed backstage and gorilla than he is in the ring.
But this was definitely a showcase match for Starks. Cody kept up, no question. They locked up. They traded hammerlocks early on. Cody missed a charge into the ropes, sold his ribs early on. Starks set up Cody in the ropes, but Arn pulled Cody out of the way before Starks could connect on what looked to be a dive. So that was a complete heel move there, kind of going in line with what Cody said in the beginning about him not knowing if he was even in the Elite or a part of his family anymore. So some heelish tactics there by Cody Rhodes. Starks hit a big DDT and a top rope superplex. We got a nice camera shot from the corner turnbuckle, which looked great. Cody hit a suicide dive. I always get nervous with these dives nowadays. JR couldn't help but shit on suicide dives as always, so nothing new there by JR. Finish of the match draw, Cody missed a disaster kick, which led to a series of back and forth near falls. Cody hit the crossroads, and a devastating one planted Starks right on the top of his dome for the pin, and they shook hands after the match. Cody retains, rightfully so, the TNT Championship. Young Bucks defeated Super Bad Squad.
Hold on. Wait a minute. I hate you now. Now I'm thinking about when Cody took off that heavyweight belt. Before he threw it in the crowd, it was like a little bit of a second of a heel moment when he was thinking about using it.
Oh, that I missed.
Yeah, I don't think he threw it right away. I think he took it off and kind of looked and then threw it. Now that you said that, now I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I did see the Arn, because I wrote it down. The Arn Anderson thing, he pulled Cody out of the way, and Starks was like kind of talking shit to him. But I didn't see the belt spot. It was just regular, Cody Rhodes taking off his belt and doing Cody Rhodes like things. I didn't see him, kind of going tease using it.
I thought he took it off and he didn't toss it right away. It was almost like he's gonna. He didn't like stare him down in the belt. It wasn't like a big huge, but it was a real subtle deal. You know what I'm saying? It was. That's what when you said that, I'm thinking like, did he kind of think about teasing that? Oh. I don't know. I'm gonna go back and take a look at that later. Now.
Yeah, well, listen. If Cody is teasing a heel turn, obviously it's not gonna happen now. But like we both said before, everything that AEW does creatively or what you see on TV is done for a reason. So there's got to be a reason why Cody said what he said. Otherwise, Cody, from what I don't know him personally, but if Cody says it, then it's obviously going to come back into play sooner or later on TV in future AEW programming. So we'll see what happens there. But moving on from that, we got the Young Bucks defeating the Super Bad Squad, which is some WWE-like lingo that is just very cringe with Penelope Ford. Too much going on here. I thought it went too long. I love the Bucks, don't get me wrong, but I cannot get invested in Havoc and Kip Sabian, even though Kip Sabian had a nice showcase against Omega and Page when they went 2-on-2. I believe it was last week, right? So we had Kip Sabian doing that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of this team. Good action here, just too much going on, which was the overall theme for these tag team matches on this show. Rick Knox took a pair of pliers away from Havoc at the open of the bell. Obviously, Havoc, he doesn't know the rules of a wrestling match. Pliers? Okay, here you go. So that got taken away there. Havoc went right after Matt's heavily taped rib cage, which was a legitimate injury, but obviously they're playing into that aspect here in the match. Fast forwarding a little bit, Butcher and Blade, the Baker's dozen came out over here. Butcher and Blade jumped on the apron without the cupcakes, and they took over, and the referee kind of was distracted by them. Havoc hit Matt with a wet floor sign. I believe, was it Havoc or Penelope Ford? I don't remember because there was so much going on here. But Havoc hit Matt with a wet floor sign from what I seen, and they took over. They went to commercial break. FTR came out to watch this match. It kind of thwarted off the Butcher and the Blade. Matt made his own comeback, made a hot tag to Nick. Nick obviously went crazy with all his typical spots, to the springboard attack on the stage on top of Havoc. Nick used the sharpshooter on Sabian. Havoc grabbed a hammer, and obviously the referee was distracted at this point because he grabbed a hammer. Ford jumped in and hit Nick with the wet floor sign. So that's the second time the wet floor sign came into play here. Havoc hit an implant DDT for a near fall. Sabian tagged in, hit an assisted DDT for a near fall. Sabian missed a double stomp off the top. Havoc and Matt tagged in. Complete chaos here towards the end of this thing. Matt hit his Northern Light suplexes. Matt and Nick hit risky business. Sabian hit a top rope double stomp. Pinfalls were broken up. Sabian was bleeding from the neck for some reason. I don't know why. Match broke down at the end. Matt and Nick made Sabian assist them with an indie taker on Havoc. So they kicked Sabian's knees out from underneath him. He had Havoc up in a tombstone position, which obviously led to the tombstone. Bucks hit stereo super kicks. Finished off Matt and Nick hit stereo Kamigoye knee strikes to Sabian for the pin here. Butcher and Blade jumped the Bucks immediately after the bell. FTR obviously out there, jumped in, hit Butcher and Blade with the Goodnight Express. Bucks hit Blade with an indie taker. FTR hit Havoc with a spike pile driver at the same time. Segment ended with FTR and the Bucks facing off in the ring. Jesse, kind of similar to the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders on Monday Night Raw, but this is obviously a lot more professional and in the realm of pro wrestling. Whatever you can do, I can do better, minus the fucking bowling and the mini golf. So clearly they are headed towards oh, you think you're the best? Just look at me. Oh, you think we're the best? Oh, let me do this over here. So anything you can do, I can do better by these teams. What do you think?
Yeah, it was good. I know you're not a big Sabian fan. I don't hate Kip Sabian. For me, he's working as long as he's with Penelope Ford, to be honest.
As long as she's out there, fine. That's all good.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I like the dynamic that they have. They do cheat too much. Like, by too much, they do it every match. I mean, so it's a little bit over the top. But I don't hate the gimmick. I mean, and he's great in the ring. So I don't know. I mean, for me, he's not bothering me as much. Did you notice with all of the talk? Who are the two biggest names being mentioned in WWE over the last couple of weeks? Orton and Edge, right? So did you notice you didn't see the punt kick attempt?
Yeah, you asked me about it. I actually had gotten up because of Kip Sabian and me just not really giving a shit about this team. I got up to use the restroom, and then you mentioned, did you catch that Randy Orton reference or a slight knock at Randy Orton? And I said, what was it? So explain to everybody what it was about the punt kick.
Yeah, they did. He did a spot where Sabian, I forget who it was against, but he went and did a punt kick. It wasn't like a real Orton punt kick, like to the head. It was pretty much to the chest, but he kind of teed it up like he was doing a field goal. It was a field goal kick, but then they call it a punt kick or whatever. But then he's admiring his work, saying like, oh yeah, it's good. And then, Rick Knox comes in. It's like, no, it's no good. It was wide left. A lot of reference and emphasis on this whole punt thing when Orton just went through a punt, in the greatest match of all time in the history of life. So I think that was a direct shot at them. Well,
did Kip slap his leg?
He did not slap the... I don't know, did he? That's a good point. Leg slap.
Gotta slap the leg.
Good point.
Orton wants to make fun of leg slaps, but I see more leg slaps from Randy Orton in the last 2 days than I seen from anybody else on WWE TV. So I guess Randy Orton's the king of the leg slap. Unless he's just doing it to fucking troll everybody. Knowing him, it probably is. Orton
is a master troll. Master troll. He knows what these guys are doing in the ring, and he knows why they're doing it. He knows better than we know.
Of course, his favorite wrestler, one of his favorite guys in AEW is Sammy G. Of course he knows. He said so himself.
God, don't pay that guy any attention on social media, dude. He knows how to get under anybody's skin that he wants to, whenever he wants to.
So we got this brawl here breaking out, and obviously FTR, the Bucks, it's going to happen, but it's one of those situations where we're going to have to be patient, and it's going to happen at All Out. I'm pretty sure about that. Taz talked about what happened last week on Dynamite. He said that they were drinking whey protein in their trailer, heard a bunch of noise. He said he heard loud noises, and it turned out to be Jon Moxley, who said he was going to shut him up for good. Taz called him a miserable son of a bitch, but that gimmick was taken years ago by me. Cage said what happens at Fyter Fest to Moxley is because he brought it on himself. Cage says he wishes Fyter Fest was tonight, and then he started saying different ways or listing certain ways he was going to hurt him at Fyter Fest. I think I laughed out loud when you texted me. They cut off Taz cutting a great promo to have a guy cut a promo who can't cut a promo at all in Brian Cage. Do you really think that about Brian Cage? Can't cut a promo? A little rough around the edges there?
Why is Taz with him?
All right, bro. Enough logic here. Enough logic for the night here, bro. It's too much to handle.
Why is Taz with him? And so you got Taz with him to cut promos for him, and that's what Taz is doing. And I have not seen Taz go this hard in a promo in years.
No, he's
Taz
great.
He was
fucking
hot,
from
dude.
Brooklyn. Why are you gonna cut off somebody from Brooklyn cutting a promo? Are you kidding me?
No. I'm not. No, he's always been great. But I'm just saying this is one of his best I've heard from him in years. I mean, he's always been great. But he's not an in-ring performer anymore. So I mean, why would he have to cut a promo? But now he has a gimmick. He has an on-screen gimmick and a reason to cut a promo, and he was letting it go. And then Brian Cage says, "Oh, stop! Let me do this." So that's like putting Brian Cage in a match against Wardlow, and then Taz coming in and saying, "Oh no, let me do this match instead." Yeah. No, your job is to talk. Your job is to let him talk. Don't cut him off. He was hot. He was going, and then Brian Cage said, "Stop this heat. Let me put some water on this and chop it up a little bit." And sound kind of weird.
Well, clearly he's made a career for himself, and Brian Cage is an unbelievable athlete. You know, he's a guy that you watch him wrestle, and you're shocked at the things he could do for a guy that size. But again, and I'm not being an AEW mark or an AEW shill. Everything that they do it for a fucking reason. Before it gets to TV, they got a plan in mind for what they want to do. There's a reason why they put Taz with Brian Cage, and they might be hinting at, we want to portray this guy as strong as we can. What's his weakest aspect? Let's fucking fix that before we send him to TV. Oh, I got a great idea. Let me put Taz, who can cut a promo on anybody, with Brian Cage, and we'll bill him as the next human suplex machine. Simple. Exactly what Jesse said. There's a reason why you put Taz with Cage, so shut your fucking mouth and let the guy do the talking. Simple. Moxley, he aired a vignette, or he had a promo. He said he's in the business for one reason. I've got demons. So does Monday Night Raw and Bruce. Bad ones, he said. The only thing that keeps them at bay is hurting people, and now your path has crossed my path, so he's going to drag Cage into deep water. So not much there, just building, and then next week they build Moxley in action with Taz on commentary, which should be really good stuff there. They also announced, like we mentioned before, Wardlow versus Luchasaurus in a Lumberjack match. The Natural Nightmares versus FTR, which should be great. Moxley will wrestle. Cody versus Jake Hager for the TNT title is announced for Fyter Fest. Shida versus Ford. Moxley versus Cage. Actually, plus the tag team title match after tonight. So we got 4 matches announced on top of more being added in the weeks to come. Ross asked for an update on Britt Baker. Shivani said they're getting an update now, and cue Britt Baker, who was in a dumpster right now on Dynamite. She was covered in garbage. A lot of raw analogies here that I will make, but I'll refrain. She fired Reba for not finding her soon enough, then rehired her. I was absolutely going to tweet Britt Baker, if Reba was fired, Jesse should be appointed the new secretary in charge there. And then she rehired her, so I refrained. She vowed revenge on Big Swole. So, Jesse, what did you think about Britt Baker covered in garbage, covered in what SmackDown and Raw deliver every week, and in a dumpster here on Dynamite? Your role model was covered in bananas and trash. What is that? 2 segments tonight, bro. 2 segments on a 2-hour show.
Yeah, I'm a little torn. I'm really pissed that she just won't go away and get off TV. But at the same time, they put her in a dumpster, man. Hey, I don't know what to say. I love this.
Wow, you know what?
So
Britt Baker, now that I think about it, Britt Baker had more segments on Dynamite tonight than Charlotte had on Raw this week.
See? I didn't know that. I did not
Charlotte
know
had
that.
1 segment on Raw, and it was a backstage promo with Ric Flair. 30 seconds.
Didn't know that. And yet I already labeled her the new Charlotte.
Oh my
of
God.
AEW.
Take it easy. It's not going that bad.
Watch. She's not gonna be as overly ridiculously pushed like Charlotte. But geez, man, we see too much of her right now. Too much.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. They're obviously building, like I said. So Britt Baker was in the dumpster cutting a promo. Obviously, they're building towards a match with Big Swole.
What happened? Did we see our champion tonight?
Who? Sheeta? Yeah, she was in the crowd holding her belt.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, she was in the crowd.
Forget it. I thought she was being misused. Go ahead, proceed.
She was being. Okay. All right, enough. Listen, bro. Enough of the sarcasm. I can't have you talking sarcastic about Sheeta. Okay. Might have to.
God, I mean, she's in the crowd holding the title, and Britt Baker's on TV as much as the commentary crew is. And she's not overexposed.
Telling you, bro, when I come back to Chicago, we're going to StarKast. I'm buying you a fucking ticket to go meet Britt Baker, and you're going to explain all this to Britt Baker. You're going to take a picture smiling, and you're going to act as if you enjoy it. I'm going to have you frame it. I'm going to have you put it on your nightstand next to you and a picture of your wife, bro. I'm telling you right now. Seriously.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we'll see. I want to like Britt Baker because clearly they're not going to get rid of her anytime soon. But I can't like her if they won't get her the hell off TV, man. Please, just 1 week.
Let's see. We could be looking at the new women's champion. Seriously.
Oh, God.
Anyway, speaking of champions, championship at stake here, or championship opportunity at stake. Les Sex Gods, Jericho and Sammy G versus the best friends Trent and Chuck Taylor. AEW Tag Team Championship Contendership at stake here. Now, I enjoyed this match for what it was. Again, a little hokey at the end because these tag team matches have to end in fucking utter chaos. And they got to sell the aspect of, who is who and where's this guy and where's that guy and who's the fucking legal guy and break up this pinfall with somebody sleeping on the outside. It's all over the place. But I made a point before the match started on Twitter. And this was one of my only tweets of the night. I don't know how you think about this, Jesse, but best friends, they're the number 1 contenders for the Tag Team Championship. I don't like the fact, I think you said this to me too, via text. I don't like the fact that they put their Tag Team Championship opportunity on the line just to simply get revenge against Jericho and what he did to Orange Cassidy. Those opportunities are very rare to come by. They're obviously hard fought in AEW. The fact that you're putting it on the line because Jericho beat up Orange Cassidy is kind of silly to me. I get it. It makes sense. Tony Khan went out there and explained himself on Twitter about why the match was happening. I don't need him to come on Twitter and explain to me. I get it. It's a pro wrestling storyline. It's a stupid one, but it's a pro wrestling storyline. If Orange Cassidy and Trent and Chucky T are best friends, quote unquote, if I'm Orange Cassidy, I'm saying, bro, I'm going to get better. I'm going to come back. I'm going to kick this guy's ass. You go and win this match and go and win the Tag Team Championships. Actually, not even the match. You go and win the Tag Team Championships. If I'm Orange Cassidy, I'm telling them, don't do that because it's the wrong decision. Now, people were telling me, oh, that's what best friends do. They go and stick up for their friend. If I'm a best friend would not let your best friends give up your tag team title opportunity. That's just my take on that. What do you think?
Yeah, it was kind of ridiculous. I think it was bad on 2 different levels. And the most important level is if it sets a bad precedence, because if you give us weeks upon weeks of build as far as making this team 5-0 or 5-1 or whatever the record is, and then tell us that they're the number one contenders, you could then next week and say, well, they're gonna put that number one contendership on the line against this team, whose record means nothing, because if they win this match, they're the number one contenders now. So you just wasted the last 5 weeks of our time. Literally, you just wasted. I mean, because if they lose, and this team is the number one contenders, and they've done nothing to earn it except beat this team. It's I understand it, wrestling story, but put it to you like this: why did Tony Khan have to come on to Twitter to defend it?
Because nobody understood why.
They knew it made no damn sense. That's why.
Why are you giving up your opportunity? Cassidy's going to get his against Jericho. Why are you putting your title on the line, your title opportunity on the line?
Yeah. Not only do you make them look completely stupid, not only that, but yeah, you kind of undermine your whole platform and your whole outline about on how you're gonna crown your champions and everything else. Even just having this match and having best friends win, fine, it's great. But it's now set that precedent, because now you can tell us that this guy's the number one contender for this, but now we can have a match with someone else and negate all of that.
I honestly thought, did you think they were going to switch plans up here? Because I thought they were going to switch plans up here. I thought they were going to go with Jericho and Sammy Guevara, and I would not have been surprised if they did that, because depending on when this show was taped, I'm assuming they went live last week and then they taped on Wednesday, or Thursday rather, the next day, and obviously showed whatever they did last week to tonight. I thought they were going to go with Jericho and Guevara because of the announcement that NXT made that they're going to stack their show up against Fyter Fest. They're going to have championships, and they're going to have a big-time pay-per-view lineup to go up against AEW, and I felt like AEW was going to do Jericho and Sammy G because it's a better sell to go up against NXT, against Omega and Page. Did you think that way? Did you think they were going to switch it up just to kind of combat NXT and their announcement from last week?
No, I didn't think they're going to switch. I think that they did it just to set the precedence. Remember when they first started the company, and then we had like a time limit draw, and everybody was like, well, why did they even do it? They're going to come to a draw because they want to try to train the audience and getting used to the fact that this could happen. So we could see a time limit draw down the line. So don't be shocked when you do. You could see a number one contender put that number one contendership on the line in another match. So don't be surprised when you do. So they did the stipulation and played it out the right way. But I think they're grooming us for something they might pull down the road. And I don't like it because I think it gives them an out of long-term booking. And the long-term booking the long-term booking also comes with storytelling that you're giving us. So you're telling us that this is the best tag team because they beat this team and this team and this team. They could have beaten the team that they're going to lose to tonight. But just because now it's a stipulation and they could lose everything that they've done over the last 5, 6, 7 weeks or whatever the case, just for one screwy finish to a match. I mean, it's a story to tell, I guess, but at the same time, what does it mean for all the other matches that this team won? Are they back at the bottom of the line now? Yeah. If you put it that way, the best friends had to win. You know? They had to win, and they had an easy out to get the sex gods out of this thing anyway, and they played it off, I thought, pretty perfectly with Orange Cassidy coming out there and getting one over on Jericho. Jericho beat him over the head with the oranges last week, and Orange Cassidy lazily not lazily, he held the fucking camera up the entire match. He ended up being the camera guy and ended up tripping up Sammy G in the middle of the ring and costing them the match tonight. And that's exactly what happened here. And I guess we'll get there. Let me go over what happened in the match here. We had a big suplex spot on Guevara with Trent. Jericho hit Trent, and obviously he has Floyd, so Floyd came into play here with the baseball bat from the floor. So we got the heels overtaking the baby faces here. Go to commercial break. Taylor got a hot tag, hit a Falcon Arrow and a Liger Bomb on Sammy G for a pair of near falls. Jericho then comes in. He locks up with Trent in the walls of Jericho, while Guevara hit a flip dive over the top on Taylor. Trent forced a rope break with the walls. Jericho ran into a lariat, tagged out. Trent crotched Guevara on the top rope. And JR was on point with this. He was just going in on Sammy G and having his eggs scrambled off the top rope there. Best friends hit an assisted superplex. Trent hit a lariat and Guevara took a nasty flip bump. Jericho broke up the pin. Guevara rolled up Trent with a handful of tights for a 2.
I thought that was it right there, personally. Taylor and Jericho brawled to the floor. Taylor grabbed the chair. Jericho threw Taylor over the barricade. Guevara hit Trent with a baseball bat and then a shooting star press, and I thought that was really it, and then he kicked out. The finish saw Guevara go for the, I believe, go to sleep, or go to hell, he calls it. Trent fought out of it and sent Guevara into the ropes, and a cameraman tripped him up as he bounced off the ropes. Trent then hit his strong zero for the pin, and the best friends are going to Fyter Fest against Omega and Page. After the match, the cameraman revealed himself to be Orange Cassidy. Cassidy took Jericho down. Series of strikes. Cassidy sent Jericho rolling out of the ring with his Superman punch, and this was very well done, and it looks like Jericho and Cassidy is officially announced for Fyter Fest. What do you think of the ending, Jesse? The cameraman spot and the upcoming match between Cassidy and Jericho. It is the match, me personally, a match I did not really anticipate when AEW became a thing. And now I'm really super excited for it. I think it's going to be a great match.
Yeah, you said you thought that Ali's presence was, suspicious by not being there, and it was kind of, telegraphing the match. These guys just murdered Orange Cassidy last week, and then they're cutting a promo today about how much they murdered him last week, and then they have a match against the best friends, and Orange Cassidy is not out there. And you didn't guess that he was going to cost them the match at the end or something like that?
I really didn't. I honestly did not think that was going to happen. I really thought that they were going to go with Jericho and Sammy G. I really did.
Yeah, no. I mean, if Orange would have came out, with his friends like he normally does, then then maybe we'll see. But yeah, he's not out there. Well, what, they forgot about him? They kept mentioning him all night and how much they beat him. Like, yeah, he's going to come back tonight. I saw that coming.
Yeah, there was always next week. I legitimately thought they were going to change plans up to go battle NXT for whatever they got going on there, but clearly they stuck to their guns, which, like you said, it makes sense. They had to win, and I'm glad that they stuck to their guns because it would have kind of ruined everything that you built up with the best friends. Where do they go from there? Clearly, there's a loophole there. Why would you do it anyway to give up the tag team title opportunity? And if you do lose, what happens to them? They look weak. So they played it off right. Cassidy screws them over, the Inner Circle, and Jericho and Cassidy was the one match I think everybody anticipated coming out of this anyway. The best friends and Omega and Page could have a great tag team match. And whatever Trent and Omega did weeks ago was fucking great. I remember they opened the Dynamite show, so if we're going to get anything close to what they did in that one-on-one, almost 20-minute time limit draw, I'm excited for that tag team match. I think they're both great teams, and then Jericho and Cassidy at Fyter Fest should be a good one. But, yeah, man. They're building things towards Fyter Fest. Decent show tonight. I wouldn't say it was a blowaway show. I just like consistency. That's what the show was tonight, continuing to build, and I want things to matter, and AEW is making things matter every single week.
Yeah, dude, Orange is awesome. I almost wish I didn't like him as much as I do, because you just can't explain his character to a non-wrestling fan. I mean, it hasn't make sense, I guess. It's Orange Cassidy is the most pro wrestling thing in pro wrestling right now. he really is. It's unexplainable, but it makes sense.
And before we get out of here, look at this. Tony Khan tweets out, Ricky Starks is now all elite. He says in a tweet, "Thank you, Ricky Starks, for a great effort tonight. While he didn't win the Open Challenge and the TNT title, he opened up a lot of eyes on Dynamite. Thank you, Cody Rhodes and Arn Anderson, for nominating a great challenger. I was glad to sanction the match now. Congrats, Ricky. You earned it." And then there's a picture of Ricky Starks mentioning that he is all elite. So there you go. He's now officially with AEW.
That's awesome. I like how he was introduced into the company this way. I think they should do more like this. I think this was awesome. I just hope that we get some kind of picture of Tony Khan next to him, pointing to him, just kind of like,
Yeah. We'll leave that for NXT and Triple H. I don't think Tony Khan needs to go that route. I'm waiting for the Zack Ryder is now, or the Matt Cardona is now all elite.
Oh, they're coming. They're coming. I bet Khan is kind of waiting and biding his time and trying to figure out the best way to do it. But he's gonna snatch up a lot of those Black Friday guys or Black Wednesday guys.
Oh yeah. But anyway, man, let's get the hell out of here. I got NXT to watch. So thanks again for joining me on the podcast, and thank you guys for watching this week. As always, I'll be back again next week with Jesse as we build towards Fyter Fest. As always, make sure you follow me on social media at JDfromNY206 on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that bell for all notifications. If you missed anything that I uploaded on the channel this week, go and check it out. Off the Script last weekend, Monday Night Raw. I'll be back live on YouTube tomorrow afternoon with NXT live on the channel as usual. And then Friday, we got Off the Script and SmackDown. So look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Jesse, I will talk to you a little later, and we'll be back next week for AEW Dynamite.